Hello, good evening. Welcome to Istanbul Modern. My name is Çelenk. I'm the artistic director of the museum. And today I'm very honored to make a very short introduction for our museum's talk series in 2025. And following the film we've just watched, following the fascinating film, I am mesmerized, so I don't know what to say, but I'll try to give you some information about the museum's talk program in general. Launched by Istanbul Modern, the Museum Talk series aimed to establish a conversation and information platform between leading international museum professionals and museum audiences in Turkey. Since 2012, we have hosted museum directors and guest speakers from 35 different museums from the US, the UK, Germany, France, and Italy. Each lecture focused on a key topic or a case study regarding art museums, such as museum architecture and design, exhibition making and curatorial practices, learning programs and community engagement, fundraising and communication strategies, new tools and technologies in the digital age. As we also consider digital audiences globally, I'm glad to inform you that all the videos of the previous talks are on view on Istanbul Modern's YouTube channel. Today, I feel privileged to introduce the first speaker of our new series, Museums Talk from the Netherlands program. Sjarel Ex'i is an international curator and museum director with more than 35 years of experience in running Dutch museums. I wouldn't think of a better speaker than him to start the program, as we worked very closely back in 2012 within the scope of the celebrations of 400 years of diplomatic relations between Turkey and the Netherlands. Together with Sjarel and my colleagues, we curated and exhibited a selection from the Museum Boijmans Van Beuningen's collection at Istanbul Modern and a selection from our museum collection in Rotterdam. Founded in the 19th century, the Boijmans Van Beuningen Museum houses an international collection of more than 150,000 artworks, classical, modern, and contemporary artworks and design objects. And as a visionary museum director, as you saw in the film, Sjarel did not only direct one of the most important museums in the Netherlands, but also initiated the world's first publicly accessible art storage, the depot in Rotterdam. Thank you, Sjarel, for visiting us, for rejoining us, for coming back to Istanbul and visiting our new museum building after more than a decade, and your willingness in sharing your vision and your experience with the audiences. Your projects and leadership, your curatorship at the Boijmans have been a source of inspiration for us. For this year's program, we have been collaborating with the Consulate General of the Netherlands in Istanbul, and I'd like to express our deep gratitude for the invaluable contribution and support of the Consulate General of the Netherlands towards the museum's talk. I'm also grateful to my colleagues at the Consulate General and Istanbul Modern, David, Christopher, Recep, Ümit, Adom, and Yiğit. And now I'm honored to leave the floor to the Mr. Consulate General. I'm very honored to welcome you, Arjen Uterlinde, before Sjarel's museum talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll be short, but I can't miss this opportunity also to echo your gratitude and our pride and our happiness about this collaboration project. And tonight is the first of a series of museum talks where the Netherlands is acting as guest land, and I think it reflects the long-standing collaboration that we have had as a consulate, as a Turkey network, as our cultural departments, and also partners in the Netherlands. And you referred to the 400 years of diplomatic relations in 2012. Well, actually, last year, in 2024, we also had a friendship year marking the 100 years of the friendship treaty between the Republic of Turkey and the Netherlands. And also we did a collaboration with Istanbul Modern in the terms of an exhibition contribution. So I think this makes a very good illustration of the continuous profit that we see in working together. And actually, I'm also happy to see those two posters here, crafting bridges and also pushing creative boundaries. I think this is very much a vision in our cultural work in the Netherlands and in our network here in Turkey. And our philosophy is that we are really keen and looking for opportunities to work together with partners and to do that as a collaboration. And I think this project and this museum talks is very much, I think, a result and a good example of that. And I'm very thankful for the museum, to Chelling Hanem, to Imit Bey, to the teams, also to the cultural team of the Turkey Diplomatic Network, that this has been realized. For me, it's also very special that this museum talks will kick off with Sjarel Ex'i, who, as you mentioned, is a very renowned figure who has left his traces in the Dutch cultural landscape. And I think, well, the film also shows, I think, one of the major heritage, the major achievements that were related to your time in the Boijmans Museum, but also I think your other experiences, both as an art historian and as a museum director. I think they offer a very interesting point of departure for today's talks and for the hopefully for the Q&As with the public. Also, it's very interesting that you did an exhibition here in the former building of the Istanbul Modern. We were just talking, actually, when you look at the Boijmans depot and the museum here, there's, I think, some similarities in vision and in thought, which is very interesting, I think, to delve into that. And, well, I'm very looking forward to listen to your talk and see also the reaction of all the people here. I want to thank you all for having joined us. I think this is really giving quality to the events that we hope to continue realizing together with you. So thank you very much. Enjoy the evening, and I think the floor is yours now, Sjarel. Yeah.
So, good evening. Thank you for your kind words. Great to be here. What to add to such a film? You did not see, not everybody was here when the film was screened, but I feel a kind of melancholy when I see the film, because it's now 2 or 3 years ago that the building was finished. And I was thinking what to do, because there was lots of information in the film, and you will have lots of questions and maybe remarks seeing the film. Maybe I can switch a little and intermingle a little and talk about the situations that you saw. I hear a kind of double voice. Is that what it should be, or is it me having 2 microphones? I don't know. No, it's okay, like this. I can put it here. Okay. So imagine that you would receive a call that the municipality of Rotterdam would like to appoint you as the director of the Boijmans. In 2004, it was my time, and so 18 years ago, quite some time. And yeah, it was, of course, a tremendous feeling. I knew the museum quite well. I had been a student that was going to Harald Zeeman, who had a wonderful show in the big rooms in the Boijmans. I knew some of the curators, Martin Visser, Geert van Beieren, who was the most famous gallerist in the Netherlands. They were all appointed as curators. I knew the directors, Mr. Beren, etc. And I was the new director. Oh, I couldn't believe it. My wife didn't believe it either, but well, she had to get used to it, certainly in 18 years. Well, I think I will not go so far, but there was also a time in the Boijmans that things went not so well. And my predecessor had left, people were quarreling, lots of things were in the newspaper, and I had read everything. I had no inside information, because Rotterdam and Utrecht and Amsterdam and Rotterdam, they know each other, but we are also kind of colleagues, but we have also a kind of competition. And I was at that moment, I was working in Utrecht and had my experiences with the staff of the Boijmans, so it was a kind of, well, like you maybe recognize, a kind of friendly distance. And I made the interview, and I said, okay, let's do it. And the first inclination that I had, maybe that's also because there was a new American president, I don't know, but my first promise to my staff was, there was a lot of things in the newspapers. I don't know what I should do with that. I hope that we can work together in a good way. And one promise, I will not talk about the museum in the open for the first 100 days. And after 100 days, I will talk. And the 99 days before, my door is open. It was really open. And you can enter. You can enter every time you would like to. And you can come 2 or 3 times if you feel comfortable for that. If you don't come, don't bother. It's fine with me. But tell me your memory. Tell me your history. Tell me your future. What is your plan? What would you like to achieve? Come on, do it. And they did. It was very, very nice that from the first day I had tables, and sometimes people that just peeped in and started to talk to me. They started to talk to me, and I felt it like a big privilege because it was a kind of learning in progress. I mean, a museum director is nothing. Sorry, Selenk, you are very good, but you learn from the context where you're in. But everything is very specific. You have great predecessors. Mr. Hannema, who was very often now mentioned, he was number 7. I was number 13. I mean, humble number, but also far away. But you know at a certain moment that all these people and all these curators and also the municipality, they add volume, they add context, they add money, they give a lot of things to the collection, which is important, and which you know, you read it, you sense it, you use it. And in this information I learned a couple of things. I learned about 1650, at that moment maybe 1451, I don't know, collectors who donated works to the Boijmans. You saw the 2 sisters that were donating, it was 3 when they did it, the Beckman. Unbelievable that the family decides, the family Beckman donating to a museum. And they make a kind of beauty contest. Oh, I'm sorry, now I'm boosting. And they liked Boijmans best. So they came not to the Van Gogh, not to the Rijksmuseum. We got the Beckman. But it's of course also state property, so it's for the nation. But I learned about this part of the history. I learned that it's a public-private entertainment. It's a public-private position that you have there. Because the municipality owns just a part of the collection, and they do the exploitation of the museum. But the moment that you start to spend money, you need somebody who gives you the money, and you have to ask for it. And so you have very often the 2 parties that should go along in a good way, and you can also play with them. And you can play with the government and tell that there is a private person that could help you, maybe, and the other way around, private persons will never help you if the government is not coming in, etc. And one thing that I learned, but I thought maybe they made an appointment to make me afraid, or I don't know. The first time that Wout Braber, he was a very good, wonderful, he still is in the museum because he's now a volunteer, he cannot leave. I could leave, okay. He told me about the flood of 1999. I said, sorry, what are you telling me? Yeah, Mr. Director, yeah. The Gilbert and George was floating over the floor, and the Jan Dibbets was completely destroyed. I said, come again? Yeah, well, you don't know about the water? No, I did not know. Okay, it was very interesting, of course, as information. And I thought, okay, nice. They tried to, I don't know what they tried, but maybe it's not true. Yeah, and then there was a moment, in 2005, this one. So the first time, Sonia, when she was filming, of course, very important, what she did for the museum. the first time that the museum has finished in 1972, the entrance, present state. The first time that I got a call was in the evening of the 8th of July, 2005. We had a mother line in our new home, and so only my mother had that number, I thought. And suddenly Lisa said to me, there's a telephone. I said, which telephone? And I went to the telephone. Museum security calling me, Mr. X, could you come down? We need all hands on deck. Okay, I said, then what is the problem? Yeah, water. Oh, water, really? So then I thought, wait, that was a true story. And he said, take your boots. So I lost a minute looking for my boots, but I couldn't find them because if I just moved, so chanceless. And I went to the museum and I saw this unbelievable chaos that happened. I noticed that it was raining in Rotterdam 8 hours and also a day before. And I knew that Rotterdam has 5 refineries in the port, which make a lot of, climate. They make the sky very warm. And I know that all the English weather forecast is the rain that falls the next day in Rotterdam. And so what happened was that all the sewers were full. The rain could not be controlled. It could not be managed. You saw the photos of the museum. It's in fact 2 parts that can catch a lot of rain, but they cannot get rid of it. It's very strange. We have 13 pumps, 13 pumps in the cellar to take the water out to the sewers, but the sewers were here, and the you see the chaos begins already. Am I still? Yeah. So it was a very big problem, and I thought, maybe I should go to the municipality to talk to them about a new depot. And that comes from my pocket. Yeah. Very nice. I just talk. I went to the alderman who had appointed me, and he said, "What? A depot? Come on! No, you're just appointed, and okay, success." So it was a no, but. And I thought, I do not consider that a no. He wished me success. So what I started to do was gradually talking out loud about what we experienced in the cellar. So this photo was part of the campaign. This was in the newspaper. And they did not like that very much, but yeah, well, things happen, and we are from transparency, of course, and democracy and all these things. And so it was a very wise decision to do that. And at that moment, I just started with thinking out loud about what a new depot could do. Alderman change, that is something that's not, but it belongs to the cycles of 4 years. Didn't take that long because there was a lot of political turmoil in Rotterdam. And at a certain moment I was so far, and I can show you some of the things that inspired me, that I thought, a depot, we should do it, and it's clear that the municipality has a responsibility. I didn't consider that my responsibility, though I had to make the signal that it was not safe. We had 5, Sandra Kisters told it in the film, we had 5 depots shattered over the Netherlands and 1 in Belgium. We could not control those, they were very expensive, so it was also silly in another way. And at the same time, I had some experience with giving tours in depots, also in Utrecht, and I thought, why do people respond so enthusiastic when they come at a depot, and are they so silent when you show them an exhibition? So in a depot, everybody feels a kind of ownership. They say, whoa, and I saw, yes, my father, the Rothko, I know Rothko. It's very strange, people start to talk. And so what is a museum? Is a museum an interface between art and artists and audience? I think so. But is that the only form that can function as an interface? Some people don't dare to go in a museum. That's what I like so much about the new Renzo Piano building. And the transparency here, I think, is unique and very good. And the volumes of the museum and the rooms is very good as well. And so you know where you are, you see that the artworks flourish, and you have the intimacy that you need to be contemplative at a good time. Very, very, my congratulations with your new museum. It's beautiful. But are there new forms? Are there more forms possible that you could also try to follow? I hardly learn, I think. That's something I should talk about, my stubbornness, that I do not learn. So 45 minutes was the total amount of minutes that I could talk. I will stick to that, but the inclination is that I have to skip some subjects that I can mention, but I won't talk about it. The film was quite obvious. I will tell no stories about court cases. The final one was visible, a very important one, otherwise we would have lost. I will not talk about disagreements with the municipality. That needs a couple of hours. I will not talk about envy colleagues and disruptive momentous. And now I have to be silent. I will not talk about my own stubbornness. That would take a day. And I will ignore the wonderful program during 18 years that we could do with, well, exhibitions, collaborations, acquisitions, publications, science, etc. You know, it was a kind of upstairs, downstairs, the museum. Upstairs it was showing that things were easy, it was nice to go there. It was in the building, it was, oh, my best friend's already there. It was marvelous to work in the museum because we were playful, we had lots of plans. We had enough money from private companies to work as we liked. Great education. I mean, I'm talking about the program, but I would not do. But downstairs, this war was going on. And this is the commanding fire person that in the third time that we got this phone call in the night along the model line, said to me at a certain moment, I talked also to Winnie Maas about this. So, Mr. X, 20 minutes and then your books and your collection will be wet. If we now give up the books, the collection will last another 20 minutes. Can I know your decision now, at this moment? It was this moment. And you see, there was a lot of water and they could not go anywhere with the water. And they are to flush and they want to put fires out. But this is, of course, the other way around, and they were not equipped to do that. And the entire city had the same problem, also the other museums. So at that moment, something very beautiful happened. A technician from the museum had seen that there was no electricity because it was very humid there. Just the emergency lights were working. And a technician had seen at the moment that I had to decide, yes and no, they will live, they will die. It was very strange. He had seen that there was a light burning at the first floor. And he went there and he took a very long electric cord down with the electricity and he attached it to the most strategic pump in the cellar. And the pump worked because the electricity was again on. And that was the saving for that moment of the collection. But it was coincidence, and if he was not there, had not been there, what would have happened? So I remember that I was on my bicycle going home very early in the morning after the things went better and the alarm was gone, and I was angry. I thought I now will lose my polite face, and every time when we have something that is a problem in the museum, I will call the alderman for culture. So, and one of the aldermen liked that a lot because she wanted to be, it was a very good alderman, she wanted to be informed. Every time that we were in problems, she wanted to be waked or informed or that she could do something. Antoinette Laan. That was a very good way to keep the politicians close. The other side of it was that every rain evening, late or not so late or very late, she called me if it was going well. so I had a mother line and an alderman line, but it helped. I mean, you do such things. It was very good. And at a certain moment, they said, "Okay, Sjarel, you need a depot. What is the price of a depot?" Of course, we had our information, and I said it's 25 million, but well, it would be wonderful, but I was thinking about a new form too, a new form of a depot. I said, well, you have choices between two things. You have a choice to do that in the outskirts of town, gated, with a mean dog and a canal in the surrounding, and a guide that is there for 24 hours, and give the director the key. I will be happy, and maybe 2 curators, and we will share the key, and we will have lots of fun, like all the other museum directors, in our depot. And we will thank you, and you will be honored for it. Okay, and then she said, and what is the other part? Well, I thought also, maybe we could make a depot that is accessible for people. So, accessible for people, yeah, there's so much that you can do, and we do such a great job. We can conserve paperwork. When it's wet, we can make it dry. I knew because I saw how it happened. But we can do conservation, we can tell about our business, and we can tell about what we do there. And maybe people will start to understand how important a museum is. We do not tell about how aesthetic, wonderful the exhibitions are, because they are, but we tell about that people that visit the museum have a responsibility. My first line when I was speaking in the Netherlands about this plan was, thank you for giving us the mandate to take care of the collection. But it's your collection, it's not mine. And people, I mean, is it our collection? Yes, it's your collection. We are just there to take it to another generation. And it was very nice. Once I had 10 school kids from a school from the southern part of Rotterdam, that big, and they had a tour, and they came to me, and one of them was the most brilliant one. He said, "Hey, are you the director?" I said, "Yes, I'm the director." And what would you like to ask? How can I become a director? I said, well, eat a little and talk to people that are directors, like you do now. And I give you a good chance that you can be Mr. 15 or 16. I'm 13, so I'm 7, he said. and then he said, and the collection, is it all yours? He asked me, a boy of 7, and I said, no, but it's yours. And then I have never seen him back. He was so impressed. But it's true. I mean, it's a very silly way of putting it, but that was what we did. What I also said to everybody is, do you know that we show 5% of the collection? 5%? Where's the rest? Well, some works on paper are hardly shown. I mean, 90,000 pieces are shown 6 weeks in 3 years, because paper is very vulnerable. You can show paper, but then it will fade away and it will sink into oblivion. But you can do that with Bos and with Dürer and with all these very, very beautiful pieces. So the ownership was something that we talked about. And I started also to talk about what would be nicer than going to a museum that maybe is also a depot, and looking at the things that we do, looking at the things that we like to do in our team. By Mr. Fireman. It's not. Yes. And so this was created. You see, beautiful collection, varied. It goes from Walter de Maria and Charlie Torup to Van Gogh and Matthew Burney and Dali and Bos. And well, okay, you'll believe this. It's a great collection, and we are very fond of it. Some rooms, audience that is amusing, we started to look for an architect. 47 international bureaus were in the competition, including Boijmans. He had a strange kind of extra, but also in his plans and in his proposal. And something very strange happened. We had to pick 5 architects, and this 5 would be juried by 5 people who were in the jury who could pick the winning design. And of these 5, 3 of them were based on a very big seller for the collection. Yeah. So we had written, from all the anger, a very thick plan of requirements. We do a photo shop and we do a movie theater where you can see all the films in the collection of the museum, 600 films, like in a discotheque, like in an old cafe. You can always go to the print room and ask for the boss. You can. You can have guided tours in the storages. We need some space to work. All these collectors that follow us. Let's do an extra floor for collectors, 1,900 square meters. Yes, okay. We will rent an extra floor to collectors. You saw Ali Keles. He's his family came from Turkey to the Netherlands. He's an important collector, and he's one of the 6 people who rent a part of the collection. If you think that your collection will ever go to a museum, why wouldn't you start a collaboration earlier than when you pass away? Because that's very often the moment that people give something away. But you can also do that earlier, and then you know for sure if you want that or not. And Boijmans had this design, especially exactly this. And how he managed to do it is unsure, but this is the myth. This is the myth. He went to IKEA. And this is the kind of thing that he himself tells about it. To be very honest, I do not really believe that this was the first inclination. But he is, of course, privileged to keep his secrets. But there was another thing that nobody knows. I mean, I'm here also to tell you new things and not to repeat what you saw in the movie. The moment that he was commissioned, it was, of course, the question, okay, 1,664 mirrors. Convex. That meant that there had to be a system to make, but because the shape of the building is every row is different, so all these mirrors had their own measurements. And they should be made as mirrors, it's not metal, in a specialized firm. And Winnie had to fill in a form that he was sure that this was possible, and he said yes. And then we had to search a year to find a very small handcraft firm far away in Shenzhen, in China, where a family could make mirrors and glass just by making a big fire and putting the glass above the fire and take it away when the form was more or less good. They just did it with their nose. It needed 10 attempts to have 2 mirrors that fitted. You saw maybe in the photo that it took quite long to have all the mirrors in the surrounding. Sometimes there was a hole. That was the one that they did not really make properly, so it had to be returned from, etc. It was solved, and Winnie had a good feeling about what is possible in the world, but there was just one company in Shenzhen that could do it, and it took them really a long time. But what happened was, and that is what was really the wind in the project, it was that we started no plan, no spot, no budget, but the moment that the visualization started, the first drawings were out and in the open, people got enthusiastic. So I would never talk about court cases. We had some, but the moment the first mirror was up on the building, people got so enthusiastic because they suddenly saw that they saw nothing. They saw the city. It was an anamorphose. You know, an anamorphose is a surrounding that you can only notice in a mirror. It's a 17th century play. It's also in the culture of Turkey. And this is, in fact, the beautiful way to look at Rotterdam, because I think New York is a little bit more beautiful, and I think that Rotterdam is maybe more beautiful in the mirror. It's a nuance. It's a nuance. But this was also part of the secret, and of course also campaigning. You see the opening of a building, and we had in Rotterdam always a promotion team wearing the hat of the and the model of the depot in this bicycle. I was once. We did it for 2 years. And the girls were very well trained. You could not escape from them. And Rotterdam has a municipality of 45 members. And if you talk to them all, well, you have a good lobby because they can decide. Until at a certain moment, I won't tell you his name. One of the people of Leefbaar Rotterdam, that's the most right-wing populist party in Rotterdam. They have a very big part of the democracy with 13 seats, called me, if you now do not take that Amsterdam bicycle off the road, I'll say no. So we started to think that the lobby was finished and that it was what had been effective. And and so we made, in fact, a kind of atmosphere in which we could talk about a new depot. We were not so sure. This is a work by Sarkis, the photo depot, mounting, moving. We were not so sure that people really would like to be in a depot. I mean, would the collectors come? Maybe. In 2007, I received a call. You should stop me when it's over. Give me 5 minutes and it's over, almost over. But I received a call in 2007 from the art fair in Amsterdam, Amsterdam Rai. They still exist, and I was the new director, and the director from the art fair said to me, Sjarel, would you like to have the center of the fair and show your collection? And show the pieces from the collection that you like most. You cannot have the complete premises, and it was Anneke Oele, and I said to her, Anneke, I have a better plan. What? Well, we have a kind of proposal for a building that could be an open depot, and what would you think if I show a big model, in the center of the fair? And she said, oh, that is a wonderful idea, and how do you get a model? I said, well, I'll call a couple of people, and what size shall we do? Now, 1 to 10, she said. 1 to 10. It's a kind of Trojan horse. And we went with the model of the depot that we then were thinking about to the fair. It was 7 days. We were there with all kinds of people, and the moment that somebody stopped and started to look and wonder what it was, we went to this person, probably a collector, and said, well, this is the new depot from the Boijmans, and we would like to collaborate with collectors. And if, I mean, we don't know if it will ever work, if we would invite you as a collector to be part of the hotel for artworks that we are now facing, would you like to take part? And you pay rent, but you can have a lot of fun and security and knowledge which is available. And 80 people said, yes, I'll do it. So I had a list of 80 people to prove that collectors were interested in this form. Don't ask me how many of these 80 are now really here. It took some time to finish it. But that was number one. Number two was this. Oddly interesting to see how people care for silk and lace and embroidery. So there came a curator to my office and said, Minke Simon Thomas, and she said, we have, since more than 120 years, a lace and embroidery collection, donated by the Monchi family and other families. And to be very honest, we do not have the expertise to go on with it. We do not know what it is. And in fact, there are no photos, there's hardly any information. There are just 2 people in the Netherlands that know, or could know, 2 professors teaching at universities who could know what it is. What shall we do? And thinking about it, I thought, well, this is in fact a good chance. So my proposal was, okay, give it 3 or 4 months, make a conveyor belt, a kind of conveyor belt, with all the colleagues that will participate. Very big drawing what is happening there, and they were in a room in the museum doing their job. All the 5,000 pieces were taken out. If you would do an embroidery exhibition in the Boijmans, well, we were not sure how many people would attend, if any would come. The moment that we started this, 10,000 people in the Netherlands who had a hobby or a practice or a family member with a family piece, they all came to the Boijmans because they wanted to tell what they had, they wanted to show what they have, and they wanted to talk to the 2 professors that knew everything. And they knew really in 10 kilometers in entire Europe where things were made and with which kind of material, etc. So it was unbelievable to work in an area where people could just come to the desk and ask what was going on. And so this was a kind of moment too. There was another one. I didn't take photos of that. We made a kind of we did wonderful Saturday events. Many people from the city came to the museum and had fun. And always there was, of course, a talk by the director about strategies and what you could do and couldn't do and should do and should see. There was a curator, Friso Lammertse, who was the best speaker in the museum. And he was always very popular. What he said was always nice to hear and great. And some technicians of the museum had also a kind of proposal. So the 3 of us would be the speakers in that very playful and sunny day. It was a sunny day. My audience was about, well, I think so, 8 people for the day. Friso was much more capable of keeping the attention, and he had about 80 people. And the technicians, 300 people, and not just a moment, but all day. And people went in and... So how do you make a crate? What is a flight crate? What is in flight direction? What is the greatest mistake that you can do? Don't shut the crate before you have counted all the screws. Because if one screw is missing, you should do it again, because the screw will damage all the artworks. Kassen and so. So it's really something... there are 1,000 things to know about a crate. That is, even at this moment in the depot, the most popular thing that we can do. So if we, on a daily basis, you hear what is going on in the depot, there's coming a transport, and there's being a restoration going on, and being a conservation going on. But if we put in the daily schedule, flight crates demonstration, it's busy immediately because people want to know. And so we made, in fact, also a kind of small investigation how that could be done. And you hear me talking. The building that we thought about first was 5,000 to 10,000. I'm afraid we built 15,500. Yeah, well, if you have plans. But here you see more or less how the building was done. So what is very similar to the beautiful piano museum is the atrium with the Piranesi stairs. So that was great. And here you see some of the figures. This opening that you saw, that was attended by all these journalists where Winnie and I were talking, was during COVID. There was an opening during COVID with 8,000 people walking like geese, some meters in between them, with hard hats and with hard shoes, over the the stairs into the elevator, and we're again home. But the press conference, which we could measure, went to 3.6 billion homes. So 3,6 miljard people had seen it. 585 people in China had noticed it. In Turkey, it was in the daily news program. It was everywhere. And we did another press conference during the opening too. So we became a little afraid. It was not anymore, we have no plan and we have no spot and we have no money and we don't know if the audience is there. We were getting a little afraid that we would be overwhelmed. Because a depot is a depot. I mean, you need to work and you need space to work. And so the other part of the openness came also into our vision. And here you see exactly what was the result. So we made an investigation. The Erasmus University in Rotterdam made an investigation where it would go wrong at a moment that you had more than 1,000 people a day, which was the number that we were used to in the museum. And I still remember their drawing and the red spots. Not enough elevators. Oh my God, new elevators. But also no space for people who entered. So you saw in the film, you saw Jean Kermeling doing a terrace. The terrace had all the utilities for 800 people a day. It was not in the design. Sorry, Winnie, maybe it was not in the plan. I don't know. But so we had to respond to the things that we noticed during the process. But the nice thing was that each time we needed more money, people said, okay, can we help you? So that was very strange too. So you heard me one budget thing already when I talked to the alderman. I said, well, maybe 25 million. The other plan, building it next to the museum, was more or less, at the moment that I asked it for the first time to people that could know, was 40 million. So 15 million more. At the Amsterdam Art Fair, I talked to a journalist and I said, well, we need 15 million more for a better plan. And half a year later, there was a call, not on my mother's line, but in the museum. A friend of a friend of a friend called, would you have time next week for a small conversation with a person who's interested in your building? And in front of me was, a week later, an enormous unknown person. His photos are not around, but he was the paterfamilias of a family that was living in Rotterdam 3 generations ago. And he took the paper clipping from his jacket, put it on the table, and he said, how are you doing? Did you find... I said, no, we still miss 15 million. He said, okay, you'll get a letter next week. 15 million. That was the moment that the alderman did not think anymore, because the public and the private world met at that moment. And then it started running, and we spent 94 million for the building, and we could pay all bills. And we even have at this moment 5 million in stock to do maybe accidental things. A helicopter from the Erasmus University that comes down, or a mirror that would be destroyed and could not be repaired. And I mean, then you need real money. So the enthusiasm that was in the plan, and also the thinking about something that was hardly possible, that you could not imagine, but you could see it and you could touch it and you could hear us about it, raised the money. And even the present state is that, and that is very very spectacular, is that the places where you see that a conservator is at work, they evoke at this moment donations. So very interesting maybe, but a museum is always costly. An art museum certainly, because you have a big collection. 70% of all costs are in the care for the collection. 30% is the program. and the staff of the program. So if you really count, it's 30, 70. What happens now is that because of showing our work for the collection, the gifts go to the collection and not to the program. I mean, there comes a moment that the program is running again, and then we have to do it both. But people are now busy in what we were doing without that they knew it. So we were always taking care of the collection. Oh, expensive, such a museum. And now they see what we do with their money, and now they adopt everything. We even sold the trees on the roof, and we even sold all the mirrors. So that was great to do it. It's not really a new plan. If you see John Soane, he was a master, a professor in architecture in London. Systems. He had so many works by Hogarth that he made a cupboard. And so now you view the window in the front, John Soane, but you see that all the paintings could be stored at the same time as looked at. I was always amazed about systems. I mean, it's also a thing that I like a lot as a professional, and the building is also very good for all kinds of other sessions. So this was a fashion show. People were sitting on all floors. There was a disc jockey, and it took an hour, and it was great. Lina Bo is of course one of the best architects of the 20th century. She did the MASP in Sao Paulo. She was married to Mr. Bardi. He was a museum director. He was very good at pulling money because he knew everything about the city, and if he had a secret, you were easier in paying him off than... I mean, that's his reputation. I don't know what they will tell about me, but I will never know, maybe. But Lina Bo made this building, and she made this system for a collection that was brought into Rio de Janeiro. No, sorry, in Sao Paulo, piece by piece, by people who emigrated. So maybe not very attached, but the system makes that the collection shows as a kind of choir, as a whole. So we made a homage in one of the rooms. We have 2 galleries to exhibit of 300 meters, like here, and we have one bigger room of 900 where we can also do exhibitions. And we made a homage to Lina Bo and asked if we could use her systems, concrete and glass. There are not so many architects who can display really good. I mean, Carlo Scarpa is one of the people, an Italian architect, maybe you know him. Verona has a very beautiful museum that he made, an old castle that he refurbished. And Palermo, Museum Abatellis, this one. This is a fairly good collection, but you can see when you go there, go to Palermo and see the Abatellis, that he loved every piece. So he was really dancing with the pieces. What do I do? He was dancing with the pieces before they were put somewhere, and the combinations were really organic. He lived with the collection. They opened it in the 60s. They never changed anything, even the subscriptions on the wall, etc. Carlos Scarpa. It's rare that people really can make displays. The artists are the ones that we long for, but making interfaces, making displays, making connections is the work of a museum, and you can do that in a way that people start to become curious and to start to become connoisseurs. We did some experiments ourselves too in the museum. Also, we had the museum at that moment. No. I could buy this Magritte after a long tour. And we invited Alex Dacorte to make a display. This is just 2 photos of a bigger room, orange and green, with 300 works that welcomed their new sister or brother to the collection. And you see that Christopher Bull and Dan Flavin and etc. He was working with it. It was beautiful. And Harold Zeeman in the 80s, and well, you have seen this, and here you see the crating, the flight crate. One of the things is that we have now spaces to show the installations. The museum bought a couple of times entire exhibitions because we liked it so much that we thought, well, it's a collection. We cannot let that go. But one of the things was this Paul McCarthy, too big to show in a way in the museum. And if you show it once, when do you do it the second time? And it was in turmoil when we bought it, but it was completely fixed in the room. And so everything that was not working was fixed with the audience nearby. And people loved it because it was one kind of amateuristic system that he invented. But this is also what we do with the children. And this is the photo of the three people that made it work. Well, you hardly saw Ina Klaassen in the film, but we are together on the photo, and she was 7 years with me as a director and before as a business leader, and very important also in making things work. And she's now my successor. So the first invitation was maybe to have Ina Klaassen here, and she had no time, and those pensionados, they can always... and I think that Celenk was having some... Okay, I don't know. It's a diplomatic thing of having invitations. But you see here us at the opening, and we were still building. It was not finished at all. We thought in the beginning that we would finish both buildings. And so we saw the museum draining, and we saw the mushroom next to us rising. And we thought they will be together in 2021. And no, the answer is no. That did not work well. And so many stories about the depot worked. The stories about the museum did not work at all. Yeah. Why? I don't know. In the meantime, we did wonderful things like going to schools with the flight crates. And so we took to the city and to the schools that were used to coming to the museum. We took the collection there. It was wonderful. We still do it at this moment. It's great. And we did many other things because it's more or less also a period that you can think, that you can rehab, that you can do studies, that you can make publications. And we made this one in COVID, the second time. We phoned with Ahoy, which is a very big market, empty space where you can do song festivals, etc. And we knew the director, and we said, so what are you doing with your program? Because there was no North Sea Jazz, and there was no song festival, so they had a lot of space. And he said, it's empty, why? Can we come along? We have a plan. It was an inclination as well. And we phoned the mini BMW company, and we looked into the collection, and we made an exhibition drive-through. So there were 22,000 places in the minis that could go around 10 hours a day, and the entire collection that could have the climate for a short notice of time was in the show. And here you see Vito Acconci. This was Marijke van Warmerdam. There were sculptures, there were kiefers, that was even the monkey of Kokoschka was there. If you entered, you catched it in your lamps. It was wonderful. Just because of COVID, the only thing that you were allowed to do in the Netherlands in those periods was going with your family or with the people that you were living with in one home, in a car, in nature. And then we thought then you can also go to an exhibition if you keep driving. So that was what we did. And this is how it will go in the couple of years. We will be so far that we opened. This photo was taken last week, and there you see what is going on. And so you see here the depot. This is the building. We will say goodbye to the wing that was done by Robrecht and Daam because it did not function, the building. One of the reasons that the museum was not longer maintained and that everything went wrong was that the entire new building of Robrecht and Daam was fixed to the machines, the climate machines of 1935. Lack of money, or let's do it more cheap. And at that moment, the museum deteriorated. And so what you see is one of the gardens will get a roof. All the roofs will be new. the entrance will be changed, and there comes there are coming 2 circuits, one for the artworks and one for the utilities. So now, in the old museum, we had the problem that the HoReCa things had, so the management, the crates with beer and glasses came through the same hole as the Rembrandts. Not really like it should be, and not good for your loan position. So now we have, they have, I should say, in the future, 2 secrets. And the museum will return like you saw it in the film. So you saw the devastating effect of taking out the asbestos. It was necessary. But at the same time, you can really believe me that the museum comes in its force of 1935 and 1972. Maybe a very conservative decision next to this building, but comes in its force. More or less what I have to tell you. And I can just say, all the problems that you have working in culture, all the answers are in your pocket. The culture has all answers to everything, and you know much more than you think, but just try it. Be courageous. Make fun. Good old Kurzschwitters. Wir spielen, bis der Tod uns abholt. We play until death picks us up. Play in your profession and frappez toujours. That's what you should do. That's our thing, and not being a politician or trying to be polite or whatever. Be a good person and do what you want. And otherwise, you don't do it. Thank you.